Welcome into Inside Carolina basketball position previews. I'm your host, Ross Martin, joined by Sherrell McMillan and Greg Barnes. Today we're talking about RJ Davis. RJ Davis played in 29 games last season, averaged 22.3 minutes, 8.4 points, 2.3 rebounds, 1.9 assists, and his shooting was 35% from the field and 32.3% from three. Sherrell, RJ Davis, I think it's an interesting kind of player to discuss because he played a lot last year, but didn't start, wasn't the focus of the offense. Again, like Caleb Love, flashed a lot, but I think his size, he was really impacted by the size and physicality of the college game. What do you kind of see for RJ Davis in year two in Carolina under a new system with Hubert Davis?
I think it's a very similar answer to Caleb that Greg gave in our previous preview, is that they need to be more efficient and they need to be judicious with when they decide to shoot and when they decide to get their teammates involved. One thing that is difficult coming from high school and AAU, where you are the guy on your team, is learning how to play with good players. And I think both of them did that some in AAU, but especially with RJ, as he got to Carolina, it's kind of hard fitting in because you're not the starting point guard. You're also not the starting two guard, but they still rely on you to be somewhat of a scorer. So as you said, the size and physicality and everything, I think caught him off guard. And as the season went along, you started to see him get into a comfort zone. So I think it's a big step for him this year. Again, freshman to sophomore jump. I think it'll be even more evident with someone like him because now he understands. Maybe don't go all the way to the rim because your shot's going to get blocked. So develop that little floater, how to get open behind the arc. All those things I think he's learned, and he'll be a little bit more crafty this year. And I expect a good year from him.
Yeah, Greg, I mean, do you expect him to start? Do you expect him to kind of play spot minutes alongside Caleb Love? How do you see his role along talented guards like Love and Kerwin Walton, who all three showed flashes as freshmen but still need to improve?
Yeah, I would imagine that the Kerwin will start there at the two, which means RJ is really going to get some playing time behind Caleb Love and Kerwin. And of course, he'll play with both those guys. I think Sherrell is spot on, but I will add this. I think Caleb Love has the potential to really blossom, especially with this spaced out floor that Hubert Davis wanted to employ. And so when you're talking about Caleb kind of penetrating and getting to the rim, there's going to be open shooters available. And I think RJ Davis can really flourish in that role. Sherrell's exactly right. There were times last year even when he was playing well late in the year, that he really tried to get to the rim to make something happen because North Carolina needed something to happen. And he was just so small that that's going to be very difficult for him. So yes, working on that floater for sure is going to help, but I think really making sure that he kind of defines a role for himself. And I think a lot of the time, if Caleb Love is the player we think he can become, those opportunities are going to be there on the wing along with Kerwin Walton. And I think that's really where RJ can carve out his niche this year. But yeah, I mean, improved efficiency all the way around. But I think that's really how he can benefit this team the most.
Sherrell, where do you see RJ fitting in this team? Because he kind of got similar minutes to Love last year, but Love was the starting point guard. Do you see him more as a backup? Do you see him kind of splitting minutes at both the one and the two?
Well, it's an interesting question we'll get into, I'm sure, but Hubert Davis has not been shy about talking about multiple ball handlers on the court at the same time. Now that could affect other players because I do think Kerwin Walton is a surefire starter. So maybe he could start at the two guard and they could have a lineup where it's Caleb, RJ, and Kerwin Walton together. Either way, they're all going to play big minutes. And I think RJ will be the secondary ball handler behind Caleb. So a very important role in case of injuries, in case of foul trouble. You want somebody that you trust to be able to handle the ball if Caleb Love has any issues. And I think they definitely trust RJ Davis.
Yeah, and there's a good chance. I mean, you're looking at RJ Davis as the starting point guard the next season as a junior if Love were to go pro. So got to keep that in mind as they kind of groom him for that role. And additionally, I think we'll talk about this in all these previews, that this is going to be more of a positionless basketball system. So fans and media alike have to kind of get our mindset that there's not set positions, that they could roll out a small lineup with Kerwin, Caleb, RJ, Puff, and another small guy. It depends on kind of what Hubert wants to do. That I think it's going to be more shooters and more scorers on the court. All right, RJ Davis, sophomore season at UNC, playing 1 and 2 and potentially a backup point guard role for the Tar Heels under new head coach Hubert Davis.